involved impaired drivers in 2024. We had 15 fatal accidents resulting in 18 fatalities.
Do we know how many were motorcycles?
I don't remember how many there were. I know there was a lot last year. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. Our automatic traffic enforcement data. So they had just over 14,000 red light citations issued. That's about 2% less than 2023. And there was 78,000 speed enforcement citations issued. That was 20% less than 2023. Part of that large difference, though, is because of legislation between May 17th and June 27th. We had to pause that service, so we weren't conducting any of these ATE enforcements.
Would that be 20% just a month? That wouldn't be 20%.
It's not 20%, but there's a lot of traffic during those time periods.
Okay.
There's a couple other items, but I don't know exactly why it's 20%.
Sure. But we can't put the mobile speed cameras in certain places now.
Not now, for sure. We're very limited on where we can place those.
24 locations, isn't that about right, I think?
I think it's 12 locations. And then, so we rotate 6, and then next day it's the other 6. If we look at the red light cameras, MLK and School Street, just off the interstate, that accounted for 54% of those citations. Obviously, the I-235, 4700 block accounted for most of our ATE citations, just under 74%.
Are we submitting more things to the state to see if we can add more of the mobile speed in the neighborhoods?
We did. We just got back that they denied our application.
All of them?
All of them.
Oh. When the
Okay.
number one thing we hear from our neighborhoods are speed.
Did they give us a basis for why?
Nope. They just, there's more to it, but basically, they just said no.
Gotcha. Right.
So, Chief, on the evaluation of them, the total number, I'm glad they're going down. Maybe that means there's less violations and it's safer out there. But can we look at actual speeds to measure that? Like, does the camera give us net speeds of everybody going?
Yes. So it does. It'll say, if there's a violation, it'll tell you what speed it was. If it doesn't tell you non-citation traffic speeds, but it'll tell you the violation speed. So we could find that if you were interested.
Do we know the percentage of cars that went by that were cited?
I do not know the percentage of cars that were cited.
Yeah. I just think for future applications, those are two pieces of data that I don't know that might be persuasive.
I don't know if those cameras keep track of vehicles that do not violate the threshold that we have set.
Chief, so there are how many approved mobile camera locations, did you say?
I think 12.
12. So you just rotate them among, there are how many mobile cameras, or I guess they're tied to a squad car, but
We have 6.
6. So, Josh, I had one of your constituents ask why it's so often on Polk Boulevard, I guess at that around the 4400 block. Is speeding so bad there, or it's just that that's an approved location, so it's going to?
That's an improved location, and they're basically on an every other day rotation right now.
So I assume the 2300 block of South Union got denied because they still race up and down the street that I watch every single day. And I would sure love to have that thing sitting there.
There's quite a few streets that they race up and down every single day.
It's brutal.
Yeah. So on the mobile speed camera, I thought the 1400 block of Grand was one of the places that they denied, or did they allow that to continue?
1,400 block of Grand is denied now.
Right, okay, so it was 11% of total tickets for the year.
2024.
Right, and that was just January through May, so that maybe almost
Well-
accounts.
It was from 2024, so this year it got denied.
Oh, I thought it was good all of 2024? I thought it was denied.
Again, I thought it was good from 2024.
Okay, well,
That's probably the significant difference.
I would guess that would be a chunk of the difference, potentially.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate because,
Can you apply again?
We can keep applying. I think we're going to have to figure out why we got denied,
right.
if there's a avenue to go further.
Or who else maybe gets accepted?
Yeah, we were just going to say, who else could we find out who got accepted? Did they allow any of them? Because if they just blanket said nobody,
Right.
We'd need an explanation, right?
Right,
Like,
but-
what safety data do we need to show? I mean, if there are a bunch of folks going 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, is
I mean, we
it
have something that
accident-based?
could track, like, if you put something at the 2300 block of South Union, you can say, you can show every car the average speed that goes by. And I assume that's probably how you submit it.
We submitted a lot of data. I would be surprised if any other city submitted more thorough data than we did.
Okay.
it would be interesting.
Yeah,
if
they
any
just,
city
they're not
got it,
interested in.
Where they're just
Maybe
blanket.
maybe you overwhelmed them with that. Oh, gosh.
I don't know, maybe.
So we'll try to get an answer why they were denied.
Yes.
I assume.
Yep.
When were they denied? When was-
It was Thursday or Friday. I
Oh,
was
just recently,
notified.
okay.
Let's move on to some good news.
Arrests from 2024, about 8,400. The vast majority of these arrests were outstanding warrants, theft, burglary, trespassing, assault causing bodily injury. Vehicle pursuits, there's 157 in 2024. These are comparison years, and these are the known reasons of why the pursuit started. Moving violation is the top one from last year at 74. Most of these are what the officer initiated the traffic stop for. So equipment violation, that could be expired tags, lights out, whatever. Those are significantly down from 2023.
Did you give them instructions not to do that? Because that's a big change.
That
Is that a
was-
different policy change?
It wasn't a policy change, but there has been more emphasis on the high liability of pursuits.
Gotcha.
And understanding why we're
Makes sense.
initiating them. Our mobile crisis response team and care program. Mission statement of these programs is to respond and serve all people in our community that are experiencing a crisis, advocating with compassion, empathy, and understanding. So with them both combined, they had 8,891 calls. That's a 50% increase from 2023. There's a lot of different calls in there, but of those calls, just under 1% resulted in arrest. So very few incidents result in arrest from these.
How many respond with an officer, with a uniform officer of those calls? All of them or part of them?
Well, of those, so that's a combination of those. If you look at the next one to the right,
Yeah.
the field responses with the care team, it's about 1,400 calls had an officer respond. or I'm sorry, without an officer responding. They had about 1,400 calls without an officer.
That's the 8891. At
Yes.
1,400 of those did not have an officer.
Yes.
Okay.
I just ask only because we see the numbers. If we were a fully staffed, how much more could we use? We divert some officer training over to this, or more care workers, more?
Well, there's always, I mean, it does feel, and also our dispatch has a crisis dispatcher that handles these calls, so it makes it a little bit easier to recognize the calls and then divert the services in there. And they're also able to, that dispatcher is able to get them services without even dispatching people there. When I talk to them, they're busy. So any more help, obviously,
Even in the initial dispatch?
yes. There's always calls coming in that are related to some level of mobile crisis. All times a day. It's not just in the daytime. Obviously, it's middle of the night too. And these are harder positions to fill.
And the call centers really during the day, right?
Yes.
Primarily, okay.
Yes.
Going back to your earlier slides, are these likely 911 calls or all emergency and non-emergency calls?
These are all calls. These tend to come in on the 911 crisis line. And if you would call 911, they'll ask you, you need fire, police, or mental health services. And then they'll triage it from there. But these are more than likely to be the 911 call.
Well, like, that's a huge percentage of the 149,000 total 911 calls.
And
It's really good.
yeah, and you only have, the way I understood you say, one designated person in a 24-hour span that sits and is able to handle those calls?
It should go 24 hours a day, but there's one should be there all the time. For
And
the
so
most
that
part.
call
That doesn't always happen,
Right.
but it should be there.
Well, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
in a perfect world,
Yes.
you would have someone there to answer that.
Yes.
That's a lot. That's a lot of call. Or just, are we trying to train more of your people that answer the other calls now to try to maybe have two, or?
They get cross-trained.
Yeah.
It is, it's a difficult position, and
Yeah.
it takes time to get used to the regular 911 calls and triaging those. And then this is even more of a special.
Yeah.
To understand the services that you can provide.
Yeah, I understand.
We can look at the data, the heat map for the mental health calls and talk with Broadlawn. Is one enough?
Well, are they from, are they from, there are employees, right?
No.
Oh, they're
The
not.
individual that's the clinician is Broadlawn's, similar to how the care team also has Broadlawn's employees in it. So it's part of that contract with them.
Okay.
But all dispatchers have been through training regarding
Yes.
mental health response, so.
Yeah.
All right, Investigations Division. They handle our personnel and training, so the academy, crimes against persons, crimes against property, family conflict, vice and narcotics, and then crime scene investigations. 2024, we had 2 classes graduate, 37 officers graduated, and then 16 recruits were hired, but they rolled into 2025 numbers, so they didn't graduate at the end of 2024. We hired 23 non-sworn employees. We had 346 officer applications, and we logged just over 43,000 training hours.
is that both classes? You had a total of 346 applications, or is that just one class you had that?
That's both classes.
Yeah, that's good. Isn't
Yeah.
that, I mean, is that increased since?
That has increased in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I would ask.
Yeah. So we're seeing a trend in Des Moines where applications should be trending up for office over the next couple.
Responsible for that trend?
We have a specific dedicated officer who is out there to do recruiting and some methodology of recruiting. Obviously, people care about money, but a lot of people who go into this job want to know about what's your mission, what's your service, what's the goals, and hitting on those things, advertising, being visible on the internet, being visible on social media, making people aware when your process is. We believe these things have helped us get more eyes on our application process.
Are we seeing different applicants as a result too? Like, is the applicant pool changing? Or is it just roughly the same type of pool, just a higher volume of applicants?
I would not say the applicant pool has changed enough to say we're seeing a trend in changing. All right. So these are the Part 1 crimes that get reported every year, and our clearance rate on all of the Part 1 crimes, you'll see this on in the next slide, are better than the national average. Burglaries we're down 15% from 23. Our clearance rate's 21%, but that's 8% above the national average. Our murders were up slightly at 15. These are very low numbers, so if you have one extra one, that goes up 7%. Our clearance rate's 93%. That's 43% above the national average. Robberies, they were down just under 20%. Our clearance rate's 45%. National average was 21% below that. Aggravated assaults down 3%. Our clearance rate's 80%. That's 35% above the national average. Arson, that was down 44%. Our clearance rate is 44.2%. That's 18% above the national average. Rape, our cases were up 1%. Our clearance rate's 85%. That's 65% above the national average. Motor vehicle theft, it's down 17%. Our clearance rate's 40%. That's 31% above the national average. Our theft and larcenies, they're down about just under 6% actually. Our clearance rate's 32%. That's 19% above the national average clearance.
Clearance rate statistics. So what explains that? And I assume our suburbs have probably similar clearance rates, or are the suburbs lower clearance? And is it some of the really big cities that have a higher level have significantly less of these crimes that get solved? Like, how should we put that the national piece in context?
So, for the most part, a bigger city, like big cities, their numbers are going to be down. It gets more difficult to solve cases when there's more people and there's less cooperation. And the smaller the city is, usually you have more cooperation. You have a better chance of somebody recognizing a photo than you do in a bigger city. There's other factors, but one thing you'll see for murder, if it's gang related, those are very difficult cases to solve. And lack of cooperation. And you'll see, 15 homicide or 15 murders in Des Moines, where a big city will have several hundred, 150 or so, 200. That gets difficult with those numbers to solve.
Yeah. But just related from what you're saying, the murders tend to be relational and less gang. Maybe more on the domestic violence then, because we know exactly who did it, or are gang-related murders, 93% clearance rate, that means there's like one case that, of those 15 that wasn't solved, right?
So the numbers are so low, 15. And even if they, I've seen them go up to the mid-20s and down to 5. That number is so low. There are going to be years where you have more gang-related, and they're going to be harder to solve. And there's not a whole lot of balance there. But things that have helped is technology has really helped us solve even the gang-related homicides, where video cameras around town have really helped solve these things. So I can't speak exactly what other cities are doing. They have helped us.
Chief, I know you've got a later slide on some of that technology on the detective work, but generally, how do you feel about your staffing that are dedicated? Additional staffing going to change these numbers at all, or is this a good?
Additional staffing would help. It won't necessarily make these numbers better. These are
Right.
really good numbers. What the problem is going to be if we don't get additional staffing in the upcoming years is you will see burnout. You will see, and we're already seeing it, where the officers that used to stay 25, 30 years, they're getting to 5 to 7 years. And it's a lot of pressure, it's a very difficult job. So they can go do another career and have weekends off, have holidays off. And so if we, right now when staffing's low in the summertime because of vacation, and you try to take a time off and you get denied because we don't have the staffing levels, that leads to burnout, and that leads to loss of talent.
And disgruntled employees.
So, this wasn't designed for
No, I get
this discussion.
No,
but
I was curious.
But it's good that we know that. That it needs to be said publicly.
all right, moving on.
It does.
Firearms cases. So I have this broken down into 3 parts. Confirmed shots fired cases. So what this means, if we get a call that there were shots fired, we have to know, was it fireworks? What was it? So if we confirm it, there's damage to somebody's property or vehicle, there's a video that we saw it, or there's evidence there like shell casings that we can say, okay, there's definitely some sort of shooting occurred here. That's up slightly from the last few years. You can see a little trend going up there. Cases involving firearms, 460. Now, this does not necessarily mean that the firearms were shot during the case, but the officers dealt with the firearm during the incident, and it was taken. Guns seized, just under 600 were seized last year. That's down pretty significantly from 2022, but still pretty high number. Narcotics, in 24 we had 180 drug overdose cases, 27 narcotics related deaths. Officers administered Narcan 35 times, and 30 lives were saved from the use of Narcan. just from our officers. That's really good. We were able to get that Narcan, I think, 2 years ago, and obviously 30 people saved their lives this year. So that's a big statistic there. If you look at the drugs seized, fentanyl continues to be the main money amount drug that we see and seize. Overall poundage, obviously marijuana is the most, but the value of that is relatively low considered the pound of that.
Is that typically with other drugs you're finding marijuana? Like when you raid, they have fentanyl or meth?
Usually when they do a big narcotics raid, they're looking for the fentanyl or the methamphetamine.
Right.
Marijuana is there, but that wasn't the original source of the complaint.
When we have
the source of
billboards
the
up
issue.
advertising that you can buy it, 45 minutes to the south, that just amazes me that whatever. It is.
Just want to ask a question before we go on. Guns seized, when we talk about 598, and that's less than what we've done in years previous, why has that number gone down? I know in years past we had officers that were out there during the summer and they were confiscating guns every night.
Mm-hmm.
What's happened here?
Well, there's a couple things that I will throw out there. I can't tell you exactly what happened, but one, the state law with the open carry, where you don't need a license, you can be 18 to have a handgun. That has changed. And then as we go through this, yes, we used to have a proactive special response team.
Right.
We used that type of manpower to form the Loop Squad to do that downtown over the summer months instead of doing the special response team.
Our murders are up, but guns seized are less, and that I just wondered what was happening, because it looks like we've still got some violence with younger people that are out there shooting each other.
There's definitely a trend where it does feel like there are many youths with guns, and we do hear about and we do have the reports. Seizing the guns is down. I can't tell you exactly why, but I could say a specialized unit that would be proactive for that would definitely raise that number. It might create some other issues, but it definitely would raise that number.
Great. Thanks for going back. I just didn't get a chance to ask it over there.
Chief, in our conversation and prepping the seizure slide there, talk just a minute about how seizing the drugs actually,
All right.
how seizing cash is becoming more and more rare.
So cryptocurrency is a big thing kind of nationally now, but in the narcotics world, that is the preferred method of keeping your cash, and especially large sums of money, which makes the seizure of illegal revenue from narcotics difficult for us. Before we would seize a bank account or find the cash at a residence that we did a warrant on, now that doesn't exist very often. Now it's on cryptocurrency and traded between numbers, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, to seize any of the cryptocurrency.
Guns, 3D printer, anything telling there as well? Are you seeing more of the no serial number?
I'm curious on the crypto piece.
Oh, sorry.
I'd just like to, So the transactions are just harder to trace because you have a crypto account. It's just a series of numbers, and so you can't trace it back. But even if you caught,
So there's a methodology to it. And we're not talking the hand-to-hand $20. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that they transfer it to an account, and then it's almost immediately transferred to another account. And if you do not have that PIN number, you're not getting in. So if they would lose their PIN number, they're not getting their money either. But we don't have a method to do it, and that's nationally very difficult.
yeah, so they've figured out how to hide it.
I'm not saying that you can't do it, but it's very, very difficult to figure it out.
And so the folks, even if we catch them and they're in jail, they're just sitting on their money until they come back or get out.
Somebody else.
Right.
Yes. Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Chief, that other question was the manufactured weapons.
Printers. We do see some ghost guns is what the 3D printed gun is, but what we were seeing more of is the switches that were they're like a little thing that adds to the back of a handgun that turns it into an automatic. The trigger, yes, it was. We saw more of that than we did ghost guns. We did see ghost guns. We did get a few of those, but the trigger, the switch stuff is more of the trend. That's more specifically the Glock handgun.
Yeah.
They have a way to. It's not a very big piece of equipment. And it's really cheap, and they put it on the handgun, and it turns it into an automatic.
So it's going to fire the 16 shots faster, or just you just hold the trigger?
Yeah, you just hold the trigger, and it'll be probably less than 3 seconds.
Oh yeah, that's.
Are those trigger actuators illegal at the state level? I mean, I know we talked about it, but we're preempted.
I don't know if we've ever charged that state-wise. I feel like we've charged it federally.
Okay.
And then
It's
there's,
federally prohibited.
yes, and it's a federal firearms violation. With that being said, I feel like there's also a lot of stuff that is in current litigation about
Whether or
those.
not,
Yeah,
whether or not from a Second Amendment
yes,
can prohibit, but those have made things markedly
yes.
more dangerous.
More
That specific.
Yes.
And we're seeing it on a regular basis here.
I wouldn't say like every day, but yes, we do come across those. All right. Crime scene investigations. So fingerprints, they analyzed about 1,700 fingerprints. They did 24,000 manual print comparisons and identified just under 400 individuals from those. The lab submissions, we had just under 300 in-house lab requests. We sent 204 requests to the DCI. Most of those are going to be our DNA requests. Of the things that we do for our crime scene investigation, the one product that we do not have is a DNA analyzer. So we send all our DNA submissions to the state. However, we are one of the few people in the Midwest outside of the state agency. So DCI has a NIBIN, and we also have one. And that allows us to analyze the shell casings that were found at scenes. prior to us getting this device, the turnaround on a shell casing inquiry was pretty close to a year, and now the turnaround is within a week, usually a few days. So that has been very helpful to our investigations, because instead of having a year-old lead come in, you have something within a few days.
On the rates of solving and clearing cases compared to national, would this be one of those elements that would contribute to our ability to close cases and find the culprits?
This helps two different ways, or several different ways, but it helps on an individual case where you're able to match up or see if this handgun belongs to the crime scene. So that's great, but it also helps our intelligence to know who's doing what. If I have shell casings that match 3 different shootings, okay, what do these 3 areas have in common? What's going on? What individuals are we looking at? And it really helps our intelligence level in understanding where the next targets might be too. So it is very helpful, and the work that is able to be done in just a few days compared to a year before, when you'd get it back a year later, I mean, the gun could have changed hands multiple times. It's really hard to identify it back to an individual. Now, if it's a couple days, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Impressive.
So that you would send them into the state before.
We had to send them
That's
into
how
the
far the
state.
state's behind?
Yes. And the state has gotten much better with the DNA analysis. We were running into a problem where it was significantly delayed getting results back in DNA. I don't know how they changed their process, but it's been significantly faster in the last year.
Chief, how much of this work, especially kind of the lab and so forth, is done by one of our sworn officers versus a civilian that brings?
Almost all of this, if not all of this, is done by civilians. Just looking at it, I can't think of a time where a officer would be submitting or gathering any of these things. Obviously, the crime scene, they will identify the object, but our crime scene technicians will take the pictures, gather the evidence, and then submit the request.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Ballistics part. So they fired 2,800 casings. So that's when we have recover handguns, they have to fire those handguns to then enter a casing to make sure a casing in the past didn't match the handgun that we currently have. We got 320 leads from entering these casings into the database, and the database is local, and then it turns into national too. The NIBIN program is a federal program. We assisted, like I said earlier, we're the only agency outside of the state that has this machine, and we assisted 13 local agencies, and that was part of the reason why we were given the machine, was to help local agencies. So we are assisting when they call. We help process and enter their results into that program. Property and special assignment. So we talked about cryptocurrency a little bit earlier. This is a different end of that. 18 cases reported of cryptocurrency scams. Just under $500,000 in money was lost, averaging about just under $27,000 per scam. Obviously, not all crime is reported. And there is a belief that there's a significantly more than 18 people were scammed in our city last year using cryptocurrency. But again, this is very difficult to trace back and recover. So once it's entered into a system, really difficult. It was difficult before, but this is even harder.
Well, I'm sorry, I just don't really understand what this scam is. Just, I hate to take up too much time, but just a quick example of something.
So I call up Miss Westergaard and I say, I know from social media that your granddaughter's name is Emily. And I say, hey, Emily is in jail. She needs
Okay.
$5,000 to get her out. She can't talk to you right now. And this is a fishing expedition, and
Yeah.
and along the ways, they'll find somebody who's like, oh my gosh, I got to help my granddaughter. And then they'll say, I need $5,000, go to this crypto machine. It's located wherever. They enter the money, they put it into the machine, and then it's numbers, and then you're not getting it back. And they usually continue till finally either your bank or somebody you know stops you from giving them more and more money. And so it's usually not a large chunk to begin with. It's an ongoing thing that keeps going. It's a scam of opportunity where they just keep calling. What I would guess we're going to see more of is AI, and they're going to make this scam a lot more believable when they get people's voices. So when computers are able to generate your granddaughter's voice or whatever, your face, it's going to be a lot more believable. So you'll see more of this.
You know, Josh, I mean, it's mostly the elderly they're targeting to do something like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to take advantage of people trying to do the right thing.
Right.
They're trying to help people.
Yeah.
All right, retail theft. 1,700 retail thefts were reported to us. 800 or so were closed. 500 of those were closed by arrest. Many retail theft incidents don't get reported, or the business itself does not want to pursue the incident. Sometimes if the person comes back and pays, that's the end of it for them too. So these are probably well underreported also.
Just from the crypto scams and the monetary value is phenomenal. We have a sense of the dollar amounts involved in the retail theft. I mean, are these?
If I threw out a number,
Some of
it would be national, and the number's staggering, the amount. And some businesses, they don't report it at all. We know a couple, and I'm not going to say who they are, but there are a couple that's their business process. They just don't report it.
Usually when I was in retail, you allow a certain percentage of known theft, and it depended on the department. Higher end departments had the higher amount. So I'm sure it's built into, unfortunately, to the business plan.
Right, because a certain number of people just kind of walk in and pretend like they've purchased something and walk out with it. Is that?
Well, yeah.
Going back to the others, I mean, we as a police department, we're not calling people and saying, hey, you need to do this for your granddaughter. I mean that needs to
Police
be made,
department, we put out stuff quite a bit.
that needs to be made clear.
Sergeant Brezek puts out the stuff. I know Sheriff Snyder puts out
Yeah.
stuff. That is a big scam too, where I'm Sheriff Snyder with the Polk
Yeah.
County, or I'm whoever with the police department. It's one of the scams where people feel, they want to help, and
I've heard the neighborhood officers bring it up at the neighborhood meetings as
Yes.
well, which is
Yeah.
good to keep that.
Yeah, it's important that we
We try to do the PSAs on that quite often, and when we do the neighborhood meetings, we do bring it up, or even if we do the coffee with the police,
Yeah.
a lot of those area, those situations are older individuals. We bring it up at those too.
Maybe Thursdays on Pi Day at the senior center, we should have all, not serious, and just go and explain that this could possibly happen, because they're not, some of those folks aren't looking at social media. They're not,
Yep.
that I think that we should do something like that.
All right, moving on. So we have our 2024 annual report done. I will say that this is the most comprehensive report I've seen us put out, and that's because we were able to, the city allowed us to have analysts, and they were able to go back and get the data that we were actually looking for and clean up the data. That was always one of the issues, was you would enter a number, and Josh would, or Councilman Mandelbaum, I'm sorry, would call about a number, and I'd look it up, and the number is 1,500. And then Councilman Gatto would call somebody else in the department, and the number would be 1,400. Well, why were we getting these numbers off? And so these analysts were able to, the police technology folks that we got on our department now are top notch. And they spent months and months and months cleaning up the data to get this product out. So it's thorough and much more detailed than this was, but we're pretty happy with this report. Yes.
Have you selected a lead victim resource officer since Terry Mitchell's retirement?
So they are in the process of selecting that person now. We had some ideas of, were we going to make it multiple people and they would be on call less, and then we discovered that we just wanted at least one person that was similar to Officer Mitchell, where they knew the system and everybody knew they could go to that person. And you have to be the right mind, I don't want to put an individual in that position unless they really want that position. So we're in the process of narrowing down who wants that position, and then we'll have that select.
You might give just a brief description of what that person does.
So the victim services officer is the person that will respond to all sorts of things, but usually it's death. And if it's a suicide or homicide, they will help the family with logistics as far as, okay, you have to call a funeral home, this is what's going to happen. And then they're the point of contact for the family. What's going on? Let's say it's a homicide. What's going on in the case? Instead of the family trying to reach the lead investigator, which is going to be real difficult because they're not in the office very much. They're trying to investigate the case. You will have a point of contact, and then that victim services officer can go to the investigation and say, what can I tell the family? What information? Where are we at? And then go back and report to the family. So it's important, but it's also a difficult job mentally. And it's a sworn officer.
Yes.
But it's
Delivering bad news, too.
it's a difficult
Whether
job,
it's that.
and you need a specific mentality and personality to do
Mindset.
that job. And it's not a position that I feel comfortable putting somebody at unless they really want to do it and they have the skills to do it.
Any other questions?
Meetings, and please pass that along. I know sometimes it's one more thing to do, but it's very meaningful and informative to the neighborhood.
Yeah, we are making an effort for that, and I will let you know that hopefully mid-October, we'll have our 5-year strategic plan in place, and we'll let you all see that before we put it out, but it's coming together very nicely. It's a lot of work, but it'll be a good thing.
You and I talked about patrol a little bit and kind of trying to keep everybody, instead of, hey, I'm going to work in this area for 2 days out of the month, and there's really no accountability to some of the things that are happening, and so that is changing, right? Where
So we will have a different schedule and a makeup of our patrol starting right around the first of the year when the new schedule starts.
okay,
I think it might be January 8th, but
sure.
it'll be right around the first of the year.
So the same patrol officers will be in the
You-
kind of the same area, or
The-
at least the same.
The idea of it is we are putting more sergeants on patrol, 2 more sergeants per shift on patrol. And with that, we'll have each sergeant have a dedicated squad, which the sergeant and the officers will all have the same days off. Right now, that is not the case. And so being able to supervise can be difficult when you don't have the same days off as the people in your squad. Next year,
That's a good idea.
we will, I think it's a good idea. We're going to see how it goes. But
It sounds like the right thing to do. It sounds like there's be more accountability.
Yes.
To
and I
the
think
area.
there'll be much,
Or two.
there'll be more opportunity as a sergeant to be a leader and a coach and
Yeah.
instruct than there is right now.
We need that.
And beyond Mike's comments about your officers attending neighborhood meetings, it's been noted you've attended many neighborhood meetings this last year, and it's been appreciated. So,
Well, so it's always enjoyable to go out and meet some people and hear what's going on in each different neighborhood. And Des Moines is a fascinating city where each neighborhood has different things, and they want to talk about different things. So, it's been
The first stage is good set. We appreciate that.
With all the compliments, and I know that people at Des Moines are lucky that you wanted to be chief, and I'm really happy with the manager's selection. Thank you. I do want to talk about, just for a second, the strategic plan and how detailed it might be with the manager's recommendation on staffing over the next 5 to 10 years, how you'll deploy people different, what the council should expect in terms of reasonable request for additional staffing, and included in that, the manager and the council have tried to make Des Moines a good place to be an employee and to spend their career. That's added some benefits that have taken people off the street, for longer periods of time. Well, and just how that affects our staffing level, and in order to accommodate for some of those, what we should expect for budget increased requests. I think it's a pipe dream to think that we're not going to have to spend more of our resources and more resources in the police department than we have historically. And I hope that the strategic plan addresses that really clearly, so we have a blueprint going forward for what the council can expect, at least that the request of the manager and the chief are going to be.
It does. I haven't written the final, but during the 5 years, there's incremental increases. The goal is, obviously, the budget is an issue. And it's not just the police department, it's citywide. And I understand that. And even if I could say we needed 40 more officers, it would take a while to hire that. So I think it'll get us marching in the right direction, and it'll help our officers. And even if it's slow progress, it's still progress in that direction, understanding what the budget is too. And I don't want to throw out ideas in the strategic plan that I don't think are going to be successful or have means to be successful. But I do feel like this is a time where, with this plan, we are able to outline stuff and let people know what our goals are over these 5 years. Each year has a plan, and hopefully we can make those goals. And I think we will. I think it's going to be a reasonable plan, but the main thing is we have got to get walking at least in the right direction.
Fantastic.
Okay, with that, thank you very much. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the work you've been doing over this past year.
I have the annual report here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
So, the next item?
Yep. So, council was asking about the options on how to construct the skywalk in the vicinity of Fifth and Walnut. And so we've asked Steve and his group to put that together. And so with that, at the end of the conversation, we can talk about timing. Did you need one more? I think you can have mine.
All right, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Steve Neighbor, Des Moines City Engineer, Des Moines resident. As Scott mentioned, here to talk about the Fifth and Walnut Parking Garage Skywalk Improvement Feasibility Study. I've got some team members with me, Jake Knutson and Calvin Miller from our city team. We've also got Todd Garner, Matt Rodenkamp from Substance Architecture. They are a local firm right here downtown, have lots of experience working on buildings downtown and our skywalk system downtown. So that's the main project team who've done a lot of the work to look at this. And so we're going to talk about the goals, why we did this study, what we looked at in terms of our considerations, and then look at how we can meet a schedule that would align with the major development that's occurring right in this area. So why are we doing this? As Scott mentioned, we needed to have a plan for how we could address the skywalk network in this area was removed in 2017 with the demolition of the old Fifth and Walnut parking garage. The new garage was built, finished in 2021, and so we need to have a plan for how we could address this and reconnect, the system. One being. Our own code talks about this. When we removed the parking garage, we took out the accessible vertical access, basically connecting, giving people a connection from the street up to the skywalk system. And so we need to essentially have one vertical access, an accessible vertical access per street block. And so that's listed in our code there. And two, we want to look this as well for economics. We put on the slide here the comparison of number of licensed parking spaces, those that are monthly parkers, reserved parking spaces, comparing to other parking garages. And you can see the Fifth and Walnut's at 32%, where others in the area are nearing 80%. And so.
I understand what that number is. I don't, what's the.
That is solely reserve spaces, so monthly parkers.
Out of the total number of spaces?
Out of the total number of spaces, yeah.
Right. I mean, isn't the Fifth and Walnut, that's twice the size of those other parking garages, right?
It is much, yeah, it is much bigger.
So in terms of absolute number, the number of.
I'd have to check though.
The 77 and 79% don't make a lot of. I just don't get what those numbers are telling us.
I could pull up and try and get the numbers on the number of spaces per garage to see comparable. Fourth and Grand is a pretty large garage in comparison. But.
Right, and it's definitely not 79% full.
Well, if you walked in on a given day, these are who reserve spaces, monthly parkers. So if they're not there, yeah, then there's a space open.
So I think maybe I'm confused, but I think, Josh, is the Fourth and Grand and the Fifth and Walnut have the same amount of parking spaces total, or is the Fifth and Walnut twice as big as the Fourth and Grand?
Yeah, how many reserved spots are we talking about?
Total number of spots.
Jake, you had sent me that number. Do you have the numbers by chance on the?
Does the
Okay.
Fifth and Walnut space include the projected new building across the street? Or is that just what they have as of today reserved?
You have it.
As of today, it's what are reserved.
They're going to have a lot of those already filled up naturally by virtue of the development work.
Right. So it's going to be a lot higher number.
Right, without doing anything.
I would hope it's no surprise to anybody. It's the most underutilized, except Seventh and Center is also pretty low.
Isn't there another side of the coin that the economics would be that we have the most unused capacity? Like, there's an opportunity? I mean, I'm not, like,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what I'm.
That's
yeah.
exactly what it, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a large residential tower with hundreds of units going up. So there's a lot of opportunity here to use.
Although with the tower, the development agreement gives them the parking stalls. They're coming regardless of whether or not there's a skywalk.
How many do they get?
Do we have? Does anybody know the development agreement?
intention that you would
Matt probably knows.
Skywalk.
And is it reserved versus actually paid?
I can, Mayor, members of the council, Matt Anderson, Deputy City Manager. Josh, we can look into that. It's a 390 plus or minus unit project, and I can look at the details on that. Just because they have the parking doesn't mean everyone will be parking there or that everyone will have a car, so I don't know the exact numbers, but we
But
can.
it's 390?
It's 390 unit project, yes.
And
So
how
you
many
can,
total spaces? Isn't there like 600 in there or something? Or is there
a little more, I believe, yeah.
not much? Is it? Yeah, it's not much more.
I think the
So, I mean, that's,
what Steve will get to, I think, in his presentation is that the lack of skywalk connectivity is precluding probably some office users from considering this ramp, particularly the Capitol Square right across the street, who most of those parkers would, if they're in the public system, would park at the Fourth and Grand Garage right now. This would be an option because it's right across the street.
so is it 32% mostly from the Justice Center?
Excuse me?
Is it 32% mostly from the Justice Center? Or?
I would guess so. I mean, we could look into who exactly those monthly holders are. We will be moving more of the Justice Center and the courthouse parkers there as the county looks to develop that lot to the south.
Yeah, that surface lot.
Yeah.
How many is that surface lot? How many spaces is that? Do we know?
I don't know the number. It's less than 100. I mean, well, 100 parkers.
Yeah, but if you do, okay.
And all those folks have been walking across the street without a skywalk connection.
Matt,
Yes.
can you remind us of what our obligations are to maintain skywalk connectivity?
Well, Mr. Fisher might be able to tell you that there is a skywalk ordinance. This is part of the skywalk system, which is the map that the city council designates what the system is. You can add and remove pieces to that system, but I believe there's a 3-year requirement once you're disconnected from the system. Oh, okay, yeah. So we do have an obligation per your own ordinance to seek connectivity there. And as Steve said, every block that's part of the system is required to have a handicap accessible access, vertical access between the street level and the skywalk level. So we don't have that designated access today. That was previously provided by the garage.
So we're obligated to connect this parking garage to our skywalk.
Eventually, if you elected not to, you would need to change the skywalk map and remove this parcel and this block from the skywalk system proper.
But
You have precedent for doing that. You've
but
added
I
it.
mean, you're telling me that there's going to be 320 possible potential across the street.
Correct.
So I mean okay, all right. Yeah, that's fine.
Just we hope the numbers. There's 1,060 parking spaces in Fourth and Grand.
Wow.
The license number is 835 in Fourth and Grand. Fifth and Walnut 625 spaces. With only 200 as licensed. So
Wait, there are 800, so 80% of the Fourth and Grand has license.
that's what we were provided by our parking administration. Yeah. Mhm.
I mean,
You said there's 1,000 spaces there. You just
right,
said.
Right.
and 80% are licensed. I mean, do we know how many of those? Because those are, I mean, one, we're proposing to peel them off because those are folks that, as Matt just said, those are the people who are at Cap Square now, but I guarantee you that is not 80% full on a regular basis. I mean, so do we have a sense of what those contracts look like and if they're going to be expiring? Because that is not.
Why don't we go
Yeah,
through this? Let's get
I
through
mean-
this presentation so we can.
Let me, the point of this slide is the garage is underutilized and there's opportunity. That's the point of this slide. And we could provide more on the utilization.
And there are options on how to fix that.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for this morning.
Steve, I have a quick answer from staff on your question. In the development agreement with the tower across the street, they are required to have 100 paid spaces by the year 2 and up to 390. So we're guaranteed at least 100 parkers from that project. We're hoping to get much more.
Somewhere.
So when the development was being designed, this slide shows, particularly on the right, that the parking garage was designed in coordination with a development, a tower that would provide access through the tower to the north. And so I put the red arrows there to show, this was how this garage was designed in coordination with the planned building at the site to connect back to Skywalk Bridges 4C and 5C over to the Polk County Justice Center, or connect to 4C, 4D to Capitol Square and Kirkwood. So this was the plan for when that development was occurring. And here's some photos that kind of show what it looks like today. You can see in the upper right photo, if you look northwest, you can see Skywalk 4C, 5C to Polk County Justice Center. In the lower right, there's what it looks like looking northeast toward the skywalk that goes between the Kirkwood and Cap Square. And there's a temporary connection so people can go from Cap Square to the Kirkwood today.
And connect it to the garage that's just a dead end there.
Well, that's what our team looked at. So here's the three options. Okay. Option 1 actually demolishes the bridge 4C, 5C and connects directly from the Polk County Justice Center down to the garage and then kind of an angular, the lower left at an angle. Where option 2 utilizes the bridge, that 4C, 5C bridge that's there. It renovates it and then connects it, essentially running down the sidewalk, but still stays in public right of way, so it doesn't, to minimize impacts to that site that's potential for development, and then connects to the garage. And then the third option looked at on the lower right, that one would actually connect to the system using that, connecting to 4C, 4D, connecting to Cap Square and the Kirkwood. So they looked at, these are the three main options they looked at just, for consideration to see the pros and cons. And so.
Can you go back one slide?
Mm-hmm.
Just I can't see it very well on this thing. The picture. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and I'll zoom into each one of these once we.
Okay, go ahead.
So looking at option 1, here are some graphics that our design team had prepared here. And like I said, this one actually involves, it's all new construction, so it actually would take down the bridge that's temporarily supported, 4C, 5C, and then construct basically at an angle a new bridge that runs between Polk County Justice Center and the garage. It is the lowest square footage, so it's being a direct connection, so it does come out to be the lowest cost. There are challenges with it. One, you could see that it would present challenges with in coordination with a new development, if a new development happened on that site. And we also have challenges with where the supports are with the sidewalks. We can get them to meet code, but it makes the sidewalks very tight by putting those, you can see the columns that come down in the, essentially in the sidewalks there. So there are definitely some challenges with this one from a constructability standpoint. When we look at option 2, this one would utilize the existing 4C, 5C bridge, and it would renovate that bridge and then essentially run down the sidewalk, trying to staying out of that private property to allow it for future development. This also, you could see, can present a lot of options for connection, when development occurs on that property. So it's really more just from a square footage standpoint, because it's the length and having to renovate the existing skywalk. So it's really kind of comes down to square footage is what it is. Yeah. HVAC and electrical lighting. Yeah.
So people walking on the skywalk would walk underneath it?
On the sidewalk, yep.
I mean, I know we have like perpendicular to streets that we walk under, but trying to picture one where we're walking for whatever that is, 30 yards underneath the sky. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of another case we've done that. What?
At the Marriott? The Marriott?
Okay. That's true.
Oh, Walnut Street School?
As it runs on the east side of the Marriott.
Okay.
As you walk through there to the next place.
Well, and in this one, they're able to get the columns in a better position too, so we're not impeding the sidewalk as much as option one was.
Walking, like the sidewalk is covered for that half block.
Yeah. And then the third option, as I mentioned, this one connects essentially Cap Square and Kirkwood here. Now this one, there are a number of negatives. Obviously with the square footage, it's the most expensive by far. It does impact significantly the lot to the north of the garage, so that would take up some of that space. It has negative impacts potentially to the alley flow as well, with supports there. And so this one is definitely has some.
Right?
This one is not recommended, but we wanted to look at least consideration for how would we connect it, or how could we connect this way.
Wow.
And then also it would be the longest route to the new residential tower too.
I
So
wouldn't even consider that.
yeah.
Would we have to use eminent domain to get the
Well,
portion of the?
that might be that would be a problem, having the amount of going through that north.
So this
lot.
really isn't even option 3 is, that's not really an option. I mean, that's.
It's definitely not it's not recommended. Yeah.
We're not doing
So here's just kind of a snapshot back, looking at a summary with the costs and kind of the higher level advantages. But we are, the recommended one would be option 2, with the advantages of specifically connection to the future development, the constructability with where the supports can land within around avoiding the impacts to the sidewalks, and so that's the that would be the one that would be recommended to move forward with is option 2.
Steve, where would the dollars for this come from? What fund would we be using?
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean it's in the Calvin. Is it TIF, or would it be we could use, or would we?
Can use.
We
TIF,
could,
so
yeah.
That would likely be the source, but it'd have to be debt issuance.
Yeah.
But it's not in our CIP right now.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
would have money to start it to
Yeah.
coordinate with the development.
But, so $2.6 million, is it? I don't remember seeing that in our CIP.
It wasn't line item.
It was skywalks generally.
It's in the
Do you have the 2.6 in there already for that?
I'd have to check. But
I don't
there's
remember.
capacity within the
I guess
TIF.
I don't remember seeing that large a number in there for Skywalk, but
Yeah.
maybe I would.
I think we were.
I'll send that out.
Yeah.
So these dollars aren't coming from funds designated for Connect downtown, are they?
No.
Paid for by TIF.
It's the same. It's the same thing for us. I mean, that's what we would use for Connect.
Plan
Downtown.
graphics.
I mean, that-
That is how we.
Yeah, but
In-
there's
in
other
changes.
things.
So we don't design ourselves into a corner. How do we serve or access the south portion of this site, is there a skywalk route planned through the garage today?
That is one of the challenges. There isn't. So the building, the development was designed so that the route was through the building. So actually that's a great question, because it causes me to point out one thing that we had to add. So if you look on all these, we had to add a staircase. If you could kind of see the elevators in the lower center of the graphic, say for option 2, right to the south of them, we're adding a staircase that would go down through the garage, because there's not a pedestrian path between the elevators and the stairwell in the northeast corner of the garage. So there is not a east-west corridor.
So when the stairs connected, will we be able to access the undeveloped portion south of the garage through this link that we're building?
No, there's not a walkway north-south either, right?
So how is
you'd have to walk through the garage.
Building serviced by a skywalk?
It wouldn't be. It would not be. You would have to walk through the garage, essentially.
Poor planning.
That doesn't work.
Well, but they could have designed, the garage should have been designed for a skywalk for inside the garage.
Yeah.
Was the south building ever part of the skywalk system before?
Well, but
It had that, yeah.
It had all the, well, the
went into-
garage went all the way over to the south portion of the lot, right?
No, it was
was-
connected to that pennies and then the where, because
Bad design.
my
There
friend
could
had
be a
his
tower on the house.
something to tell
Right.
it was there. And the barber shop, yeah, along where
It-
Kirkwood was.
yeah, when it was J.C. Penney's, it was connected
Yes,
to
and then
yeah.
it went straight, you were able to connect it straight through, and then it connected through the whole system.
Yeah.
But this doesn't really solve the problem that Councilman
I'm
Simonson
only
brought up.
asking because, and I
Yeah.
don't know, I've never been in this garage, but if the deck on the skywalk level is flat, you can take parking stalls out for a corridor. But are we impacting that by putting the stair here? I'm getting into the weeds. My recommendation is look at future access to a skywalk to the south undeveloped portion of the site, so we don't design ourselves.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, that's why we have to
Does
put
any of
this.
these work? I mean, I don't see,
That's
that
Option
doesn't
number
work for
3
what-
is not an option because
No.
right now, I don't think we own that property. Is that correct?
correct.
Yeah, my
Right.
only, and again, I'm getting
And
into
this
the
the
weeds,
longest
but
distance for the.
when the skywalk is designed on option 2, which seems to be the most reasonable to me, design it so we have easy connectivity. I know we've been making a big push to have glass from the skywalk into the building. When you look at the Marriott, that was one of the first skywalks to be built. And at that time, that had to be a 2-hour firewall. So when you walk along the Marriott, you're looking at the concrete wall. The skywalk ordinance was changed to allow glass into the building from the skywalk, so it's a much more friendly and interactive experience. And we have the opportunity here, if there's retail on that second floor, to have a lot of glass access. So when this bridge is designed, we should, I think about how do we open that up in the future?
The biggest question I have about option 2, I think the pedestrian experience where you have a structure overhead that we're creating connectivity here, but potentially at the expense of the pedestrian experience in this area. I know a lot of folks have discomfort when they are walking under a structure. And here you would be creating, it's only a half a block, but it's like walking under a structure for half a block.
Josh, if I may, we have some of those examples, and around the Marriott is one example. But the difference is, at the Marriott, there aren't columns. They're cantilevered off the building during construction of that building. And if you were to look up, it's pretty darn high. But because there are columns here, I would agree. It's a visual obstruction.
Yeah.
And the second floor wouldn't be as high here, I wouldn't guess, as it is at Marriott, just because the first, those,
It's gonna, and I'm trying to think, but when I walk on the street in this area, I don't walk the Marriott block. And maybe that was, like, I don't know why, but I can't even remember the last time. And I walked a number of the other blocks.
It's not a terrible experience. I think the columns, having something above you is.
And unfortunately, the columns, in my opinion, are for option one are the biggest impediment. I mean, we can make code work, but it would be tight when we look at. If you really look at where, for example, in the middle picture, which would be the southwest corner of Walnut and Fifth, those columns right there, I mean, that's a really tight, that's making the sidewalk really tight there. And there are utilities in the area as well, so that would be a challenge as well, to try and get this to work.
Steve, going back to the floor plans again, what's desirable about option 2, assuming the elevations of the building across the street are manageable, I don't know. Will there be a ramp in this corridor? Because we would definitely want to provide access to the future building to the north through this corridor, so that
in the
people
corner.
don't have to go all the way down to the garage and then
Right.
come back in.
Right.
Well, couldn't we actually remove the north-south piece when the construction of a north side is done? Depending on-
potentially
with an internal
kind
corridor.
of waste. Yeah, I mean that was. I mean, in theory, that was the design of the old building. Was you would take out the walls where the elevator, and go north south through that building. But
Or do you wait till you get that building built to do it correctly and
To
align?
eliminate it.
So you're not, I mean, we need to get the development done. That would be, to me, more critical, and then do it where we're not having to redo anything
And
again.
build a skywalk corridor inside the
Right.
future building.
Right.
And figure out how to get to the south building, doggone it.
I mean, the problem is that
Right.
we didn't have, this kind of got sidelined. It would have been done probably, but if we believe in skywalk systems, we want to make sure we have the best connectivity that we can. And I think we're trying to put something together which I think that building's important, the big building is important. But if we could get this other plan done, or whatever that might be, and
Connie, do we have a legal obligation to
that's,
provide a skywalk corridor into this garage for that 515 tower or any other
City ordinance.
user?
the city ordinance is there for the accessible vertical access. So but I'm not sure on the it sounds like there's not a legal obligation for the tower.
square.
But
So the Capitol
North of
Square,
here.
okay, so there is from the new apartment into Capitol Square?
Yeah, there will be connectivity.
That they could go from there,
Block north.
if anything, then you could go that kind
I
of.
think it's more of the appeal of, I guess I would, when would development occur in the north lot? And then two, would this, I guess the question of, would it help pay for itself to do this if you could get the parking from the north tower, or from the tower in the northwest corner? Because that would be, I mean, I think about when I live in an apartment downtown, I didn't want my wife walking, through the rain with, whatever she's carrying, groceries or walking kids so that's an appealing thing to connect to that tower. But
Well, I think the deal is if we're committed that whenever we get this development, that we do it where we can do it in a systematic way. That would make, I mean, I think we're trying to work around something that we don't know about. I mean, I don't mind walking under, but I just think if we would ever have to change it again before. But that's,
I'm in the camp that we should solve it when development happens and solve it right. But I'm also conscious of the fact that we haven't let very many developers around downtown out of these rules, so I would want to do it in a way that didn't create problems over the next couple of years as we waited for development to happen there with other developers. I think if the city was dealing with a private developer, we'd probably require a time frame for it to be set in, or a trigger mechanism, and if development didn't happen, they'd be forced to solve it. Like if we were dealing with a third party, and I think it would be appropriate that the council adopt some, self-governance policy that this is our plan, so that when and if any other developers come in and say, well, easy for you to say I have to do it, you didn't do it yourself.
We have extraordinary circumstances, though. That property's tied up in courts.
I think those are the kinds of things that I would say would be our policy for why we would not subject us to that right now, but down the road we would.
Steve, could we have the architect look at future skywalk connectivity to the south parcel through the garage, or we should know?
Yeah, yep,
Did
absolutely.
we do it ourselves, or did we hire an architect to look at it? We did in-house, we did your staff.
So we hired the team to Substance to help us with this study. We did not do the developments. That was done by a private.
Company is what.
Yeah.
We could ask them to help us look at the design of the garage.
what it would be if there was a development there.
Yeah.
And how we could, because at the end of the day, the cost could be, if you have a whole nother development, then the cost gets equalized out. And it's a better connectivity, if it's a better way to connect. And now we just got to find somebody that wants to develop that piece of property once it gets untied up.
I did want to just, we did look at in terms of, if there was a decision to move forward with a connection, we can do a timeline that would align with the residential tower, right? To try and coordinate, since Fifth and Walnut is closed, now would be the time to do this with the residential tower. And so you can see here's a schedule that, should we bring forth, say, a construction manager at risk agreement in October, we could get this skywalk connection done in mid-27, which is the same time as the residential tower. So, again, trying to avoid, to be honest, the scenario of the residential tower is done in mid-27, and then let's say we want to do this, and then now the intersection is closed for another
2 years.
2 years after the tower has had it closed for 2 years.
Steve, may we conclude with a little humor for the benefit of Councilperson Gatto? Could you remove the words change orders?
Well, and the stars are just to show where checkpoints would be in order that you would all see if we move forward with this. So, yeah.
Is there more input, or you want us to digest some of this? Because we have 4 or 5 weeks if the decision were to have it coordinated to be available at the same time the tower is completed.
We're on a timeline, so I think everybody has the information. I think there's concerns about how we make it fit totally within the dynamics of what could be, and if it's better to postpone so we get a better layout, because I think we are trying to fit something into what we have currently that might not be. I'm just saying, I think it could be additional, and it could be not as good of a fit.
Wouldn't
Is
be
that what
a
I'm hearing?
Permanent solution.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years down the road, we say, really, why did we do that?
Yeah, that was a lot to digest. I'm not ready to.
Yeah, so I think, why don't we can circle back around.
Spend 2.6 million on this thing.
My comment is,
And that's
it's
fair.
still a lot of money, and yeah, I hear, well, we can pay for it with TIF, but that's still tax dollars. That's still money that belongs to
There are
the
other
residents
options.
of this city.
Yes.
And to me, there are other options that we could be doing.
My concern is the future. We're trying to fit something in and reconfigure based on what we know now, which might not be in 3 or 4 years. So that would be my take on it, is that, but if we can digest it and have more conversation.
To
That's
Councilmember
enough. Within the next
Westergaard,
couple
there
of
is other priorities that we still need to hear.
Yeah.
I still need to hear from you what some other priorities that I feel like that we need to talk about other than connecting to a parking garage.
Well,
right
a
now.
parking garage that we don't know if it's really going to fit right in the long run.
Right. That has,
I
you know,
think, thank you
32%
for all these
occupancy
scenarios.
right now.
I appreciate the work that's gone in to try to fit it, as we have a strength of skywalks within the downtown area. But I think in this case, we're trying to fit something because of what was incomplete to begin with for that whole project. So on Fifth and the other
agree.
side.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thanks.